Hello and welcome to worship at Jerome Church. My name is Sarah Merriweather and I'm the Executive Director here at Jerome. And today we're continuing our series on prayer called Breakthrough. Today we're going to be talking about and exploring the idea of what it means to pray through and not give up. So I want to invite you now to download your Grow resource and join us as we continue together in worship and praise.
Needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend, so I run to Church. My name is Tara Moore, and I'm the Family Ministry Director and Student Coordinator here at Jerome. As we prepare to hear today's message, I want to invite you to connect with us during this time of online worship together. During worship today, I invite you to use the chat or comment function on any platform that you're watching to join the conversation and share your thoughts or prayer concerns with our staff and online worshiping congregation. I also invite you to connect to Church Center, which is our app and online resource that virtually connects you to things like our Connect card, sign-ups for upcoming events, worship videos and resources, kids and family resources, and our online giving platform so that you can support the ministries and missions of Jerome Church. You can scan the QR code on the screen to connect or visit jeromechurch.org/churchcenter. Today, we are continuing our series called Breakthrough, as we are exploring how to pray bold, God-honoring prayers. Let's join together now and listen to today's message from Sarah.
So today we are continuing our series called Breakthrough, and I'm going to be talking today about what it means to pray through. So I want to start with a question. Have you ever felt like giving up? I know I have, right? So don't give up. These are words that every one of us need to hear at some point in our lives when we're weary or when we feel like giving up. You think of, marathon runners or exhausted parents or people that are fighting battles that are seen or unseen, whether that's an illness or something else. It takes effort and courage to start something. But I would argue that I think it often takes more courage and more persistence to continue and not give up when we are stuck in the middle and we're not sure how we're going to make it to the end. We need encouragement to not give up. So when we're talking about praying through today, praying through, what it really means is to pray with such confidence that you don't give up, even when you haven't gotten an answer yet or you don't see any answer in sight. So praying through is really about three different things. The first one is that praying through is about consistency. It is always too soon to quit praying because you never know when the prayer is about to be answered. Don't give up. The answer might be just around the corner. So consistency, that's the first one. The second is praying through is about intensity. Praying through is not quantitative, it is qualitative. And it's down on your knees, gut-wrenching, crying, praying, heartbreaking, tears. It's difficult. It's intense. But the third thing I'm going to spend a little bit more time on today is that I believe that praying through is about persistence. So to help us understand what it means to pray through, I want to dig in a little bit more to this idea of persistence and something specifically referred to as the persistence quotient. So study after study and expert after expert agree that whether you're talking about academics or athletics or music or math or really anything that we humans like to do, that there are no shortcuts and there are no substitutes for persistence. So neurologist Daniel Levitin is quoted as saying that the emerging picture from studies is that 10,000 hours of practice is required to achieve a level of mastery associated with being a world-class expert. 10,000 hours is equivalent to roughly 3 hours a day or 20 hours a week of practice over 10 years. No one has yet found a case in which true world-class expertise was accomplished in less time. It seems that it takes the brain this long to assimilate all that it needs to know to achieve true mastery. I find that fascinating. It's a fascinating quote that it might take us 10 years at 3 hours a day to become an expert in something. So what we know about persistence is that success is a derivative of persistence. I want to share a little story about me. You may or may not know that I am a competitive golfer. Now, these days, mostly I'm competitive among my own family. I'm trying to hold off my boys who are getting better and better every year. But I began playing around age 8 and concluded my really competitive career playing for the Ohio State University when I was in college. But I want to back up from that for a moment. So I grew up playing on a small 9-hole golf course in my hometown, and every summer they had a club championship, and I would enter it, right? And as I got older, and frankly as I got better at golf, there were others that were not always so happy that I entered that competition. And I distinctly remember one round in which I was playing really well. I actually, spoiler, ended up winning that year, but where I went on and 3 different holes that I was playing that day, I nearly holed out my shot. And the first one I hit from about 30 yards, almost went in the hole. And on another hole, I hit one almost in from about 50 yards. And on a third hole, I hit one in from almost 75 yards. And after that round, I received some congratulations and, the usual compliments. But I also heard, kind of off to the side, some rumblings that sounded like, this isn't fair. So from my competitors, you see, the very lovely women I was playing against and with, they were friendly, casual golfers who liked to go hang out together and play golf each day. But they really kind of felt that my presence there wasn't fair, that I had an advantage. And the truth is, I did have an advantage, but I'm going to argue that it wasn't an unfair advantage. What I had was a persistence advantage. So what my friends in this club championship didn't know was that I had a golf coach at Ohio State who knew the secret of the persistence quotient. My coach knew that there were no shortcuts or substitutes for hard work and practice. So at the end of nearly every practice, we would finish our time together as a team and hit wedge shots into these tiny little nets, tiny by, when you're that far away. And these nets, as it happened to be, were set up at yardages like 30 yards and 50 yards and 75 yards and a few others in between. And usually the game is we weren't allowed to go home until we had hit the golf ball into each one of these nets. And sometimes when we'd have to hit it in, each one of them in order. So you might imagine the bottom line was it was hard. We often felt like in the middle of this practice, we felt like giving up and going home. But our coach knew that persistence would pay off. And it did. It paid off for me personally in this club championship, and it paid off for my team where we won 3 Big Ten championships while I was there. So do I have some natural golf ability and definitely have had some great coaches along the way? Absolutely. But there was no magic that allowed me to play well or to nearly hole out those shots in that club championship. Any success I had was simply a derivative of the hours and hours of persistently practicing on the driving range, at the putting green, and playing in competition. So this isn't a sermon about golf. So what does this have to do with prayer? Well, Jesus gives us an example of this kind of persistence in a story we find in Luke chapter 18, verses 1 through 8. And this is the parable of the persistent widow. So hear these words now from Jesus that are found in the Gospel of Luke. Then Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and not give up. He said, in a certain town there was a judge who neither feared God nor cared what people thought. And there was a widow in that town who kept coming to him with the plea, grant me justice against my adversary. For some time he refused, but finally he said to himself, even though I don't fear God or care what people think, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will see that she gets justice so that she won't eventually come and attack me. And the Lord said, listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off? I tell you, he will see that they get justice, and quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. So is prayer any different? Prayer is a habit that needs to be cultivated. So like the 10,000 hours that it takes to become an expert, I'm not suggesting that we put a number or log our prayer hours, but the bigger the dream, the bigger the ask, I'm suggesting the harder you have to pray. Friends, desperate times call for desperate measures. So back to the story of this persistent widow, she was desperate. It shows us in the story what praying hard looks like. It is knocking on that judge's door until your knuckles are raw. It is crying out until you lose your voice. It's pleading until you run out of tears. It's circling until you wear out the judge. So, friends, if we don't pray like it depends on God and work like it depends on us, then Mark Batterson in his book, The Circle Maker, suggests that if we don't do those things, the biggest miracles and the best promises will remain out of our prayer reach. Praying hard is praying through. And if you pray through, you can be confident that God will come through. It is praying until God answers, no matter how long that takes. And it is doing whatever it takes to show God you're serious about what you're asking for. So one of the biggest obstacles I think that we face to praying through is the waiting. Waiting is hard, okay? Who likes to wait? Not me. Actually, I hate it. I do think waiting is a lost art. I think in our culture and society today, we don't know how to wait well. So again, in the Circle Maker, Mark Batterson suggests that oftentimes we stop praying because we can't see any tangible difference with our natural eyes. We allow our circumstances to get between God and us instead of putting God between us and our circumstances. But friends, I want to encourage you that this waiting, although it's hard, it is not wasted. The outcome of our prayers is not necessarily the end game, because we know the battle is already won, right? Our lives have been paid for through the life, death, and resurrection of our Savior, Jesus Christ. So it's the work that happens as we faithfully pray and wait for God to come through for us. That's really the purpose of the waiting. So even if we complain a million times on the way to our miracles, sometimes an answer too quickly means we would have missed so much. Praying through is not just about the outcome. Prayer, friends, it's not transactional. It is relational. God is not a vending machine God. We can't just say a prayer and expect an answer, although sometimes prayers are answered quickly. But it is relational. It's about this formation that happens within our heart and within our mind while God's grace is present with us and helps our will to align with God's will. So thinking back to my first question that I asked, have you ever felt like giving up? I'm guessing yes. For me, the answer was yes. But I like to imagine Jesus on the sidelines of my life, like a marathon, holding up a sign with a message that says something like, "Don't give up. Keep talking to me about this." Imagine if Jesus would do that for you. So friends, one of the ways that we can continue to pray through is to keep circling the promises of God. Sometimes maybe we give up praying because, we run out of things to say. But as Pastor Bruce shared last week, a conservative estimate is that there are some 3,000 promises of God in the Bible. So start there. If you aren't sure what to pray anymore and that is an obstacle to you continuing to pray through on something, start with the promises of God. The Bible is meant to be prayed through, not just read through. Open it up and start your prayer. So as we think a little more and a little more deeply about praying through, I want to ask you today, and maybe even challenge you, what do you need to pick back up? What is a prayer that you need to pick back up? Maybe it's a prayer you need to pick up for somebody else that can't pray that prayer anymore. Kind of on this subject, Pastor Bruce is actually going to be talking to us next week about thinking and praying long. So I hope that you'll join us next week as he helps us think a little bit more on this subject. But what prayer have you given up on that maybe it's time to let God resurrect? I want to tell you one more story today, and that's a story about Jerome Church. I've been on staff here. I'm coming up on 11 years this year, and there was an Easter some years ago where we simply ran out of chairs during our Easter service that morning. And I remember looking around and I had this overwhelming feeling where God said, Jerome Church, this is my promise for you. You will run out of chairs. Now, we've had some realities since that time. One of them is the COVID-19 pandemic, where we were closed for a year to in-person worship. And so through some of those challenges, we've not yet come to a point where we are running out of chairs in our worship services. But as I was preparing for this sermon, I realized that that is a prayer and a promise that I myself need to pick back up. And I want to invite you, congregation and people of Jerome Church, to pick it back up with me. I want to invite you to pray and ask what it would be like for Jerome Church to become the church home for people that don't yet know Jesus, or for people that need a church home, and what would it look like if every Sunday we were running out of chairs? So I want to ask you to join me in that promise and in that prayer. Friends, praying through, it's about not giving up. So I want to leave you with 3 things that you can do and 3 verses to go with them to encourage you to continue to pray through, especially when you feel like giving up. So these are some things you can lean on. The first word is that God is not done until it's good. The verse that supports this for me is Philippians 1 verse 6, which says, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. God's not done until it's good. The second thing is I'm going to encourage you to pray as if it's already been delivered. I want you to give God thanks for the prayer before you see the answer. And we can take some strength from Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 here, where it says, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he has done. And lastly, I want to encourage you once more to be strong and don't give up. Pray like it depends on God and work like it depends on you. And we can take from this verse in 2 Chronicles 15, verse 7, but as for you, be strong and do not give up, for your work will be rewarded. Friends, keep praying through. Do not give up. Keep asking. Keep seeking. Keep knocking. Do not give up before the miracle. God will come through just as he promised. Thanks be to God this day, and amen.
It's good to be with you again in worship today. Today we are continuing our series about prayer called Breakthrough. As we continue in worship together today, I want to invite you again to connect to all the resources in Church Center, which is our online hub for engaging with the ministries of Jerome. While you're there, please be sure to check into worship or complete your Connect card today and take some time to explore the opportunities in the app, including upcoming events and ways to volunteer in a local mission or to grow deeper in your faith by participating in an upcoming class or study. A few of the ways that you can take a next step with God at Jerome Church include signing up to attend our next Discover Jerome class that will be held on Sunday, March 3rd at 11:30 a.m. This is for anyone new to the congregation or for anyone interested in taking the next step of membership here at Jerome. I also want to invite you to register for our upcoming men's retreat, which will be held this week on Friday and Saturday, February 9th and 10th. You can learn more about all of the upcoming opportunities as well as view the calendar and connect to signups through the Church Center app or by visiting our website at jeromechurch.org. The people of Jerome Church are committed to the mission that Jesus gave us to love God and love people, and you can join us in this work by giving your regular financial offering to support the missions and ministries of Jerome Church. You can give electronically through the links in today's video description on the Jerome Church website or donate online through the Give tab in Church Center app. And if you've made the decision to give for the first time today, you can connect to our online giving platform by texting the word GIVE to 614-587-7871. You can also give through automatic withdrawal by contacting the church office or by mailing a check to Jerome Church at the address on the screen below. Our hope is that you will establish a regular pattern of giving so that you can join in the great work that God is doing through the people of Jerome Church. As we end our time of worship together today, I want to say thank you for making this worship time a part of your week, whether you are joining us live on Sunday morning or watching later on demand. I want to invite you to connect with us online this week through our social media platforms and in the Church Center app. And know that we look forward to worshiping with you next week as we continue this prayer series together. Have a blessed week, friends.
Reason to wait.